There's one emotion narcissists can't stand during sex. One feeling that makes them want to run, hide, or destroy the moment entirely. It's not guilt. It's not shame. It's vulnerability. The very thing that makes sex meaningful for most people is what terrifies them. Because to the narcissist, vulnerability feels like death, the loss of control, exposure of truth, and the unbearable possibility of being seen as human. At the surface, narcissists appear confident, passionate, even dominant in bed. They exude power, charm, and a sense of mastery. But behind that performance hides something fragile, a desperate need to avoid being emotionally naked. They can undress their bodies, but never their souls. True intimacy exposes them, and exposure is their greatest fear. When vulnerability arises, eye contact that lingers, a quiet moment of emotional connection, the narcissist's instincts scream danger. Their brain floods with shame and panic. To them, sex isn't a shared experience, it's a stage. The moment it turns real, they retreat behind jokes, sudden coldness or distraction, anything to avoid feeling small or dependent. Vulnerability is dangerous because it dismantles their illusion of control. Narcissists live by image management, projecting perfection while hiding insecurity. But during intimacy, masks melt. Every touch, every sigh, every moment of closeness threatens to expose what lies beneath the emptiness they spend their lives avoiding. That's why they flee emotional connection, even when they crave it. They may call it not being into emotions, or claim they just want to keep things fun, but those words are camouflage. The truth is that genuine emotional intimacy feels like annihilation. When someone looks at them with real affection, they feel unworthy and exposed. Love shines a light on the parts they've buried, and that light burns. Their avoidance of vulnerability often starts in childhood. Many narcissists grew up in environments where emotions were punished or ignored. They learned to equate feelings with weakness. So now, even in adult relationships, emotional honesty feels unsafe. Sex becomes their only safe arena to simulate intimacy, physical closeness without emotional risk. But the irony is cruel. They long for the validation that intimacy brings while fearing the surrender it requires. They want to be adored, but not known. They crave attention, not attachment. The moment they sense they might truly care, they sabotage it, mocking, withdrawing, or seducing someone new to prove they're still untouchable. Partners often confuse this push and pull as passion. The narcissist's intensity feels magnetic at first, deep eye contact, whispered promises, overwhelming focus. But once emotional depth appears, the narcissist flips. The warmth turns cold, the closeness becomes suffocating, and the partner is left wondering what went wrong. Nothing changed, except the level of truth. Vulnerability threatens their survival narrative. To maintain their false self, narcissists must believe they are above needing others. Yet sex is the ultimate act of mutual need. It demands presence and surrender. The narcissist can't handle that equation, so they rewrite the story. They pretend they're giving pleasure when they're really avoiding connection. They run from vulnerability by turning sex into performance. Every move, every word, every moan becomes part of an act. Their focus isn't on emotional resonance, but on image, how they appear, how impressive they seem. The goal is to dominate, not connect, because dominance feels safe, while mutuality feels terrifying. If their partner tries to connect emotionally through gentle touch or soft eye contact, the narcissist often freezes or mocks. They might joke, change positions, or pull away entirely. These reactions aren't random, they're defense mechanism. Intimacy feels like surrendering control, and control is the only thing keeping their ego alive. At their core, narcissists equate vulnerability with humiliation. They fear being emotionally owned by someone else, especially through love. To them, dependence equals weakness, so they build an identity around independence and sexual power, hoping it will keep the pain of rejection or shame away. But that very armor keeps real love out. When sex becomes too real, they look for ways to escape. They might create conflict afterward, criticize their partner, or act distant. Some disappear entirely. They leave before they can feel exposed, rewriting the story so they're the ones rejecting, not rejected. It's not cruelty, it's fear dressed as control. In truth, the narcissist's sexual confidence is fragile. They may brag about passion and prowess, but beneath the surface lies insecurity. They measure worth by conquest, not connection. Every encounter is proof they still have power, but deep inside they know it's hollow, a temporary fix for a wound that never healed. When vulnerability sneaks in, they often feel rage. Anger is safer than fear. If a partner sees too much softness, the narcissist may lash out to regain control. Anger allows them to reassert dominance, to reestablish emotional distance. This is why after moments of closeness, they might suddenly criticize or belittle it, resets their sense of superiority. The tragic part is that vulnerability is exactly what they need to heal. It's the bridge between isolation and connection, the key to real love. But narcissists see that bridge as a battlefield. They would rather burn it than cross it, because crossing it requires confronting the truth they've avoided all their lives, that beneath the grandiosity lies emptiness. True intimacy demands honesty, and honesty threatens their false self. To sustain relationships, they would have to admit weakness, apologize sincerely, and show empathy, all things they perceive as dangerous. So instead of connecting, they perform affection, pretending to feel what they cannot sustain. It's easier to fake warmth than to risk authenticity. Partners of narcissists often mistake this avoidance for rejection. But it's not about you, it's about them. Your willingness to connect triggers their deepest fear, emotional exposure. When they run, they're not escaping you, they're escaping themselves. The part of them that longs to be loved is the same part they can't bear to reveal. For the narcissist, sex becomes both a weapon and a refuge. It's a way to feel powerful while avoiding true closeness. They seek intensity because intensity feels like life. But once the rush fades, so does their sense of identity. That's when the emptiness creeps back, reminding them that the performance was never love, it was survival. Vulnerability is not just an emotion, it's the test of authenticity. It's the moment when masks fall and humanity meets humanity. For narcissists, that's intolerable. Their mask is their armor, and their armor has become their skin. Without it, they feel naked in a way far more frightening than physical nudity. That's why, during moments of real connection, they often make jokes, change the subject, or retreat into silence. Anything to break the spell of intimacy, because if the other person sees too deeply, they risk confirming what the narcissist secretly believes, that there's nothing of substance beneath the image. They also fear vulnerability, because it opens the door to accountability. Once someone sees their real emotions, they can also see the damage they've caused, and facing that truth means facing guilt, another feeling the narcissist cannot process. So they run not only from love, but from the mirror that love holds up to them. Yet behind all their defenses, there's a human being lonely, scared, craving what they fear. Their avoidance is tragic, not villainous. They run from vulnerability because they were never taught it's safe. For them, love is danger. Connection is loss of power. Intimacy is surrender to an uncontrollable truth. They live their lives building walls, mistaking safety for solitude. Sex becomes the illusion of closeness, a way to simulate connection without risk. But simulation isn't satisfaction. No amount of performance can replace the peace that comes from being truly known. That's why, no matter how confident they appear, they remain restless and unfulfilled. What they fear most during sex isn't rejection, it's revelation. The revelation that their grand facade hides nothing but emptiness. In that moment of emotional nakedness, when someone truly sees them, they feel exposed, powerless, and small. To protect the illusion, they escape, sometimes physically, sometimes emotionally, but always abruptly. Partners who experience this often feel confused and rejected. One moment, there's intensity, the next indifference, but this sudden shift isn't about desire fading, it's about fear taking over. You touched something deeper than they could handle, and their instinct was to run before the truth set in. Vulnerability threatens the narcissist's survival mechanism. Their entire persona is built to avoid pain. But love, real love, requires feeling pain sometimes, empathy, humility, accountability. To them, that's intolerable, so they retreat into detachment, pretending that feelings are optional when, in truth, they're starving for them. They crave what they fear. That's the cruel loop of narcissism. They long for love, yet destroy it every time it gets too real. They seduce connection and then punish it for daring to exist. Every escape reinforces the same lonely truth. They are running from the very thing they claim to want. Understanding this pattern doesn't mean excusing it. Narcissists must choose to face their emptiness if they want to heal. No partner can do that work for them. The only way through their fear of vulnerability is therapy, accountability, and honest self-examination, steps most avoid because they dismantle the identity they cling to. For those who've loved a narcissist, remember, their inability to stay emotionally present was never a reflection of your worth. You awakened feelings they've spent a lifetime avoiding. Your depth reminded them of what they lost, the capacity for real intimacy. You weren't too much. They were too afraid. Healing means reclaiming your right to be met with openness. Vulnerability isn't weakness, it's strength disguised as softness. It's the courage to stay, to feel, to love, even when love is messy. You deserve someone who doesn't flinch at real connection, someone who sees your depth and stays. Let the narcissist run if they must. Let them chase illusions of control. Because while they flee from vulnerability, you are learning to embrace it. You are learning that love without walls is the only kind worth keeping. And one day, that truth will make their absence feel like freedom. In the end, the one emotion narcissists fear during sex, vulnerability, is the same one that makes love meaningful. They run from it, but you can run toward it. Because to be vulnerable is to be alive. And that's something no performance can replace.